TxStampin Sharon, and I have some fall cards to share with you today. I hope that you enjoy these cards and it gives you some ideas and gets the creative juices flowing. If you're new to my channel, I want to welcome you. You can subscribe by hitting the button below, and then after you subscribe, you can hit the notification bell. If I can ever help you with any of your Stampin' Up! Supply needs, I would be honored. Let's make some fall cards. On today's card, we're going to be using the Gather Together stamp set and the Gathered Leaves dies. I have some other dies that I use too, but I'll share those with you in just a moment. Here is the card that we're going to be making today. Well, almost. We're going to change it up a bit. I love changing up the cards to give you different ideas. When I cut the copper foil, I had to use quite a bit of a large piece of scrap. So I decided we're going to do the reverse today. So as you can see, when I cut out using the stitched nested dies, I had a piece of Very Vanilla left over. What can I do with that? Well, first I thought, well, just stamp your pumpkins and use that up. And then I thought, well, I had the same issue with the copper. So we're going to make the same card, but in reverse. All I'm going to do is simply put both of these inside and emboss them at the same time. Let's get it lined up. One swipe, I'll be done. See, both of them are done at the same time and they match up. Perfect. Okay, we're good. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add some liquid glue because it gets down in those embossed areas and this piece will not pop off. And we're going to take this, we're not going to adhere it yet, we're going to take this and we're going to center it on our Very Vanilla card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. And that is the Very Vanilla thick. That is my preferred cardstock to use. All right, so we're going to have to push this down a little bit because it does buckle a little bit. Okay, now we're going to lift this off and really give that a good rub. Okay, for this, we're going to use the foam strips to pop this up. For those of you who've been so kind as to mention my hand, as you can see, I'm still having issues. I had a hand x-ray yesterday. I've been to several doctors and no one can figure out my phenomenon. I do not have lymphedema from breast cancer years ago. That was ruled out. I did not fall. I did not hurt my hand. It just swelled up. But that's not going to stop me from making videos and sharing all this with you guys. All right, so now we're going to take this off. Bring this back in. And we're going to line this up so that our vanilla is more recessed. You see that? Our copper is recessed on this one, and now our vanilla is recessed on this one. All right. So because I did the sentiment on Very Vanilla, we're going to change up. We're going to put the pumpkins in the middle. Okay? All right. So as I mentioned, I use the stitched nested dies. If you don't have those, you could simply use your paper trimmer and cut out a square and do the same thing, okay? You don't have to have everything I'm showing you. Next, I used this little leaf from the Butterfly Beauty Thinlit dies. Again, if you don't have that, you could use any other leaf dies you have or a leaf punch. But with the Gather Together, I didn't have a small leaf. I just had this great big one. I was like, I just wanted some greenery on there, so that's why I did it. So this time, I think what I want to do is I want to do the copper embossing of the pumpkins because the last time, the first card I made, I did it with the pumpkin pie ink. And I thought, well, let's just see what it looks like. We can decide which one we like best. While we are stamping and embossing, let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. And we're going to put it in a different place. And now we're going to heat set. My husband says that I'm becoming the copper queen. And it's funny because we live near a town called Bisbee, Arizona. And there's a copper mine there, and there is a hotel. Well, it's not a working copper mine anymore, but it was back in its heyday, and there's a hotel there called the Copper Queen. He said, we need to move to Bisbee. I said, no, I like where we live. He's funny. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and color our pumpkins, and I'm using the blends simply because I love them. I'm using Old Olive for my stems. So the struggle I had, let's see if I can point it out. When I stamped the first pumpkin all in pumpkin pie, my stem was orange. So I tried to cover it up, but I thought, let's just see what happens if we do it this way. And then I'm going to use the ladder of the pumpkin pie Stampin' Blends. So something I noticed, see that pumpkin? When I colored it, I colored over the copper. You can really tell that. So don't do that. This is fine. This one was fine. But that one, I hit the copper. I always like to point out my boo-boos because if I'm going to make a mistake, maybe it'll save you from making a mistake. So otherwise, I think it looks good. And now I'm going to cut them out. Okay, so this pumpkin was a goof, all right? And I want to share something with you though, since it's still sitting here. If you will, I know you can't see it on the video. I've shared it recently on another video, but if you will put the die on the pumpkin and then flip it over, you hold it up to a light source and you'll be able to see and you'll be able to cut your pumpkin out without any issues. But what I just figured out is because I embossed these pumpkins, that die just sat right there around the embossed areas. Oh, I was so excited. So I had to share that with you. Okay, so I have cut out two of the kind of viney looking fronds that from the Beauty, Butterfly Beauty. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna snip these in half. I'm gonna turn these over. We're gonna add some snail to the top part. And then we're going to add our vines. Next, we're going to add some dimensionals, mainly to keep those fronds in place, those vines. But I also wanted it raised. Okay, we're going to do the same thing to these two. Kind of coming out of the top. Okay, same thing with the dimensionals. I have 3 other cards to share with you after I'm done with this one, but we're kind of creating this one on the go, so we'll see how this turns out. But in theory, it should work. I just knew that this wasn't going to show up well, okay? So that's why we're switching it up. So we're going to add our pumpkins. And then we're just going to add this on with some liquid glue to the bottom. And I don't like it. I don't like it. Let's see what happens if we do it at the top. Nope, because this strip is too wide. Okay, so here's how we fix it. We're gonna open up the card and we're gonna stamp on the inside. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. This could be a get well card. It could be any kind of greeting that you want. So now you know that some of my ideas don't always work, I will admit. However, I wanted to give it a try since I had those extra pieces lying about. Oh, cover that up. You don't ever want to leave your Versamark powder open with copper, your Versamark pad open with copper powder flying around. And then we'll set it. Okay, so it's more like a note card, but your sentiments on the inside. So here's our 2 cards. I don't know. I like them both. I love me some copper, that's for sure, but I didn't waste anything. And I just wanted to help you figure out ways to utilize your bigger scraps of copper especially, but of your cardstock. All right, let me show you the other cards I have for you. Here's one with a fun little twist to it. And here's a simple wishing you well, just stamping and adding your ribbon and simple, easy card. And then here's this one. So I hope you enjoyed all of the projects that I shared with you today. I sure would love to hear what y'all think about what I did with the whole reverse of the copper and the very vanilla. Hope you enjoyed today's video. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to spend it with me. Happy stamping, y'all!